Today I'm going to do a how-to video on how to make 7-Up biscuits. So 4 ingredients: Bisquick, sour cream, 7-Up, or Sprite, and butter. Okay, the first thing you always need to do in a recipe is, first of all, you have to have the recipe, and I have mine on my phone, and you guys will all have a copy at your desks. The first thing you need to do is you need to preheat your oven. Every oven preheats differently, and for this recipe you need to preheat your oven to 450 degrees. So for my oven, I push bake, and then I don't want it to be 350, I want it to be 450. So I just push the up arrow until I get to 450. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our recipe, and we need 2 cups of Bisquick. So I'm going to open the box. This is a brand new box. Yours doesn't have to be brand new. And I'm going to measure out 2 cups of Bisquick. Now I have this handy dandy little measuring cup that actually can do liquids or solids, but and it's a whole 2 cups. If you were just going to do a regular measuring cup, you would need 2 whole cups. For this, I'm only going to need 1 because this whole thing is 2 cups. So I'm going to. Okay, the next thing I need to cut my sour cream into my Bisquick mix. The recipe calls for a 1/2 cup, and when it talks about cutting into, I'll show you how to do that. Some of your relatives might have a pastry cutter. I don't have one, so I'm actually just going to use knives, and that works just as my sour cream. Okay, that's about good. Okay, so cutting in, when you're going to cut in, like I said, some of your relatives might have a pastry cutter. I don't, so I'm going to use 2 knives. And you just do this. And you just cut the Bisquick, the sour cream into your Bisquick. And take a look at what this looks like as I'm doing it. Our next ingredient is 7-Up. And like I said, I'm using Sprite today. I think either will work. I need a 1/2 cup of 7-Up. I'm making a double recipe, so I do 0.5 times 2, which is 1 cup. So I'm going to use my measuring cup again. And I'm going to measure 1 cup of Sprite. And you always want to look to see where we're at. I'm about at 1/3 of a cup. A little bit more. Okay, that's about good. So I'm going to pour that in there, and it says, add the 7-Up, it will make a soft dough. Okay, so I'm going to add the 7-Up. My dough is looking like this right now. Okay, alright. Make sure you put the lid back on, so you can use this to either drink for later, or use it for more biscuits. And you know what? I'm going to take my spoon I originally had. I'm just going to stir in the 7-Up. It'll create a soft dough. Stir it in really well. The next thing my recipe tells me to do is to melt my butter, and I need a 1/4 cup of butter. I'm timesing that by 2, and so I'm going to have a 1/2 cup of butter, and I'm going to melt that in the microwave and then pour it in my pan. And you'll need a pan something like this. I did a double batch, so I'm doing this size pan. If you're doing a single batch, you need a pan that looks like this. Okay, a smaller pan. It doesn't have to be glass, it can be metal. So let me melt my butter. And the great thing about butter is it tells you on the side, if you want to zoom in, it tells you on the side here how much butter is in. It has a measuring guide already on it, so it makes it easy to tell how much is a 1/2 cup. So on this, it looks like 1 whole stick is a 1/4 cup, so I'm actually going to use 2 sticks of butter. And that's a lot of butter, but these are really good biscuits, so you want to make sure you do it right. So I'm going to grab a bowl out of my cupboard, and I'm going to melt the butter. I'm going to pop this in the microwave and melt it. I would do 30 seconds at a time. Okay, it looks like my butter's all the way melted, so I'm going to take it out of here. Be careful, it could be very warm. Okay, so my butter's melted. This is what it's going to look like As you can see, it's completely melted from stick form to liquid form, solid to liquid. All right, so I'm going to look at my recipe again. It tells me to melt my butter and pour it into the pan. Okay, so I'm pouring it into the pan here. Oh, I got a few chunks of butter in there, but that's okay. All right, I'm going to move all this, because the next thing you have to do is you have to sprinkle Bisquick onto the counter. And this is kind of the fun part, because you can get messy. I'm going to move my phone here so it doesn't get messy. And then you're going to pat out your dough. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of Bisquick here. Be generous, that's probably good. Remember, any mess you make, you have to clean up, and so I just kind of pat it around. I'm going to take my dough out of this, and as you can see, it's very, very sticky. That's okay. They won't be sticky when you cook them. See, but how it's not as sticky anymore. And that's because you added some more Bisquick into that. Okay, so I'm going to pat it out. Okay. And then I'm actually going to place the whole thing into the pan. Now you can do drop biscuits. You can, which means you just take off a piece and drop them. I'm actually going to do the whole thing in this, and then I'm going to spread it out over the entire pan, if I can here. Do the best you can with this. And then once they come out of the oven, you'll just cut them up. You have your biscuits in the pan. You can tell the Bisquick has kind of soaked up a little bit of the butter. And now I'm going to put it in the pan, or in the oven, excuse me. And I believe it goes in for 45 minutes, so I'm going to set my timer for 45 minutes. And we'll see you when they're done. Okay, our biscuits are done. So we're going to pull them out of the oven. Make sure you always have pot holders. My favorite is my Mickey pot holder. I got it at Disney World. And as you can see, I think they're done. I'm going to put them right here. This is what they'll look like at the very end. They'll have a nice brown kind of crust on top. And then you'll cut into them, and then they can be biscuits for you. And that's that. Hope you enjoy them.